Minister, you may be aware that in Cavan-Monaghan ETB and indeed other ETB areas at virtually the last moment, a number of tutors of adult education courses were told that in fact those courses had been suspended. In fact, students of some of those courses actually attended only to find out that they had been cancelled. My question to you, Minister, is what are you and the government doing to resolve this situation?
And I wish to state that I share the Deputy's concern to ensure that adult learners are supported in their learning journey in our further and education training system. In terms of the issues raised in the Deputy's question, the Minister has no function in relation to the operational management of our education and training boards. As independent statutory bodies, the allocation and management of funding to different FET programmes, further education and training programmes within each education and training board, the scheduling of courses as well as the conversion process for adult educators is a matter for the relevant ETB. Now, my department understands that Cavan-Monaghan Education and Training Board has postponed some planned provision to remain within their overall budget allocation. All ETBs have been responding to funding pressures in 2024, largely arising from the need to prioritise capacity in craft apprenticeship as well as reflecting the demand-led nature of FET provision. In doing so, the objective has been to minimise disruption for learners as much as possible. The details of the conversion process of adult tutors to the new public service grade of adult educators was advised by the Department to the ETBs in April last. The Department has been informed by the Education and Training Board, Boards Ireland, that this work is near completion and the conversion process should take place by January of 2025 at the latest. It is important to be clear that this process does not provide in itself any reason for classes not to commence or for contracts to be suspended. The Cavan-Monaghan ETB have advised our department that the ETB informed all their tutors of the time frame for conversion and that their existing terms and conditions continue to apply until the conversion process is complete.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Clark.
I have to say that's the most non-answer answer I've ever heard in this chamber. Minister, it's not good enough to suggest that the ETBs are independent fiefdoms that are making decisions independent of government is simply ludicrous. It is government that set policy, it is government that allocate budgets. So to say that you're aware of funding constraints within the ETB and the further education sector, but not to acknowledge that government has a hand in that, to me, is disingenuous in the extreme. And the problem, Minister, is that there's a human cost to all this. I have several emails that I could read to you, but I want to read an excerpt from one that I received recently. A tutor informed me that it's been almost 5 weeks. I should have been working, but instead I'm facing a job search that is difficult. At times, this undermines my self-confidence and integrity. Thus, please try and make a change for us, because it seems that they do not care. You have a direct connection to them that may influence their actions. She's talking about you, Minister. So I'm asking you again, will you intervene in this situation? Because if you don't, the entire further education sector is going to be undermined.
Yeah, Minister, I've been contacted by tutors and by students who want to undertake these courses, and tutors were given very little notice. They were actually contacted within days of them assuming that they were going to start delivering their classes. One tutor who delivers maybe up to 6 art classes in a week suddenly has no classes. She depends on that funding. That's her job. Other students have been in contact. Some may take on classes that pass them, but many it's progression onto a different trade or a different type of job, or for many it's learning English so that they can actually work in this country. And I spoke to Minister O'Donovan a few weeks ago about this, and he said he was aware of it and that he was making efforts to resolve the issue, that it affects a number of ETBs, Cavan-Monaghan and a few others. And now you're saying that the government has no responsibility, like you're telling us different things here. He was supposed to give me a progress report. Of course, I haven't heard anything from him since. So I'd like an update on this. This has to be dealt with. We can't leave people, both tutors and students, without classes indefinitely.
Thanks. I think both deputies will understand the structure in relation to ETBs and the governance of the ETBs, and to say otherwise, I think, would be to misrepresent the structure of them. I want to address the funding of further education, and just to say that our department has significantly increased its investment in our further education and training in the last number of years, from about €909 million in 2020 to over 1,055 million in 2024, and that excludes our capital. As a state agency responsible for further education and training, Solus allocates this funding to the 16 education and training boards and other agencies to deliver FET based on agreed learner numbers and programmes. Solus have confirmed that the 2024 allocation to the Cavan-Monaghan ETB is in the order of €35.03 million, which increased from 34.15 in 2023, again excluding capital, and the allocation of this funding across the different FET programmes is a matter entirely for the individual ETB, and as both deputies will be aware, there are public representatives and community representatives and employer representatives and staff representatives on the boards of ETBs who act in an oversight and a governance capacity also.
You're blaming the members of the board of the ETB now, who I can tell you were not aware of this decision until after it had been made at an executive level. And the reason it was made at an executive level was because there is clearly a funding gap. And how do we know there's a funding gap? Because people were initially, tutors and students, were initially told that their courses were delayed. Then they were later told that they have been indefinitely postponed. Now that sounds to me very much like an ETB scrambling to secure funding, and I think it would be important if you can confirm whether or not Cavan-Monaghan ETB have made an application to your department seeking additional funding to resolve this situation. And again, Minister, I have to ask you, what are we supposed to say to these tutors who, if they secure alternative employment, will be lost to this sector? What do we say to those students who are midway through completing courses? I'm dealing with one particular student who has already completed their level 5 SNA course. They intended to do level 6 this year. If they can't do that, again, they will seek alternative employment. And then you and your colleagues will get up in the Dáil and decry the fact that we have a shortage of special needs assistants in our school. So my question is, do you recognise, has an application for funding been made? Is it being considered? And if that is the case, then why are you shrugging your shoulders as if this has nothing to do with you?
Yeah, I know the members were not aware that this was happening. And I know we had a changeover of membership because of the local elections, but the members before and after were not aware. And they did put forward proposals about trying to get an overdraft and so on, and they were just shot down. So but the Minister O'Donovan intimated to me that some of the funding was in relation to the large number of people who have come here from other countries and receiving English classes. So if there should be an additional spend on people coming in to live in the area, that should be taken into account. I mean, like, if there are more people, I think, in Monaghan from other countries than there are in most other counties. So, like, we need to help these people, and if that requires additional funding, well, I think the government should step up and provide it. I've had contact from people who are involved with men's sheds, and we know the important work that men's sheds do for mental health of men coming together. They provide classes such as computer classes, cooking classes and so on. They can't provide any of those now without the adult tutors being available through the ETB. So this needs to be addressed immediately and stop washing your hands of it.
No, there's nobody washing their hands of it, and it's my view, and maybe you don't want to take local responsibility, or you think that there shouldn't be a degree of local responsibility, but it's my view that the members of Cavan-Monaghan ETB should be aware of this. That's their duty, to be aware of what's happening in the organisation, which they have a corporate governance remit and oversight. I think whether there was a changeover or not in relation to local elections, there is a continuum, and that's their responsibility, and I think they should reflect on that. In relation to the question that Deputy Carty, I don't know in the here and now, but we'll find out for you if Cavan-Monaghan ETB made an application. I just don't have that information to hand right here and now.